Greetings, everyone. Today I'm here to talk with you about human trafficking. It is something I'm passionate about because I'm a survivor of it. My topic today is human trafficking. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. It happened to me. I want to educate you on what it is, where it's happening, and how it's affecting the victims and survivors who have been sexually trafficked. Human trafficking is happening all over the world. I know this because I'm a survivor of it. Through my personal testimony and the data I have collected for you, I hope that more light can be shined in this very dark billion-dollar industry that's destroying people's lives every day. It's happening in your state, it's happening in my state, and it's happening around the world at this very moment. So I'm going to go into my story. My story happened on May 3rd, 2019. It was a beautiful day outside. I was driving to work. I was working a night shift. I got to work. I greeted my coworkers. I grabbed a beverage and I went straight to work. I wasn't paying attention to my beverage because I was working, so I thought it was fine. These are people I've worked with and I've trusted. Eventually, I blacked out. I was blacked out for hours. When I came to, it was the end of my shift, and a coworker of mine who I've known for 6 years told me that she had my keys, that she had my phone, and that she had my wallet, and that she was driving me home. I said, okay, and keep in mind at this point, I'm going in and out of consciousness. I don't even understand what's happened to me at this point. So I get into the car with her. We drive to a gas station so she can get gas. When we were sitting in the gas station parking lot, she asked me if I had GPS tracking on my phone. I didn't think anything of it. I was completely out of it at this time, and so I thought nothing of it. I went to the bathroom. I remember going to the bathroom at the gas station thinking, what is going on? What is going on? I don't understand what's going on because I was in and out of consciousness. I walked back into her car and she told me that she had to stop at her boyfriend's house because she had to pick something up on the way home. I trusted this woman, so I said, okay. Next thing I remember, we're pulling into a hotel. And when we got there, she said her boyfriend was inside. She needed to grab something quick. It'll only take a minute, and then she would drive me home. So I walked in there, still kind of unconscious, going in and out of consciousness. I walk in, her boyfriend greets us at the side of the hotel door. We go into the hotel room. When we enter the hotel room, there's another man in the room. Immediately, my coworker and her boyfriend go into the bathroom and lock the door. I walk over to the bathroom door, try to get in, and I'm approached from behind by the other man who is in the room, and he picks me up and he threw me on the bed, face down, face first. My face was in the pillow to the point where I couldn't breathe. I went out of consciousness. I came to, and my pants were down, and the man was on top of me, and he said, just remember, you said this could happen. And I just said, no, no, no. And I jumped up and I ran to the bathroom screaming, pounding on the door, saying, let me in, let me in, let me in. Again, I was picked up from behind, thrown on the bed, and went out of consciousness. When I came to at another moment, I was face down on the bed again. My hair was being pulled back so far I felt that my back was gonna snap in half. The pain was so excruciating. So I went out of consciousness again. Next thing I remember, I wake up to my coworker. I'm laying in a bed and she's telling me it's time to go. I look around, there's hundreds of dollars of bills laying on the bed next to me. I see my coworker's boyfriend and I see the man who assaulted me, not knowing fully what had just happened. I remember having a thought, knowing that I'm being raped right now and something is not good. My coworker had to physically hold me up and walk me out to her car. The first thing she asked me when I got to the car was, did you get raped? At that point, I wasn't even aware of what had happened fully because I was still under the influence of the drugs that they had given me. So I initially responded no. And she said, oh, because I didn't know if my boyfriend's friend was like that or not. She ended up driving me home, and none of this had really come to full effect until I got home the next day and the flashbacks started coming back, and I realized that I was in shock, that this had happened to me. I didn't think it could happen to me, especially in a work environment. I couldn't believe that someone I worked with had kind of set me up to be sold to somebody else. How that affected me, I entered into a very dark place in my life. I was sleeping for 14, 15 hours a day for a month. Luckily, God placed people in my life where I could get help that I needed. I used my voice. I went and got a rape kit done. I was introduced to the Commander-in-Chief in Human Trafficking at the BCA, Minnesota, and I have an ongoing investigation going on. This affected me severely. PTSD in full effect, depression in full effect, panic attacks in full effect. I couldn't do anything. I lost my business. I lost faith in God. I was angry with God, but I was relying on God. So next, I want to point out some few things. What is human trafficking, and where is this happening today? And how is human trafficking affecting survivors and victims? Human trafficking occurs in all of 50 U.S. states and at least 124 countries worldwide. So it's happening in my state, your state, and all of the states in the United States. The U.S. Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 defines severe forms of trafficking in persons as a sex trafficking in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not attained 18 years of age, or B, the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, debt, bondage, and slavery. The information I retrieved this from is from 3 doctors. I posted this link on my discussion, and I have the resources available at the end. Also, how does this affect the mental health of people? The physical and mental health impacts of human trafficking have been described widely. They include infectious illnesses. They also include lacerations, malnutrition, hearing loss, mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorders, substance abuse, and suicidality. I can relate to all of those. I got to a point where I was so dark, I kind of had lost hope. I was angry with God, but I turned on God, and He has just been working in my life ever since. Who are the survivors? Every year, more survivors are reaching out to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and more people seeking help for the survivors they know. The data on these pages are not based on a systematic survey, but are analyzed from the information received about 23,078 survivors in 2018. Let me remind you that these survivors are people who have come forward. There's so many victims who are still in silence because they're afraid of escaping their trafficker. So please keep that in mind. Another picture, I brought a picture, presented one in my slideshow. You can see that this is every area on the map of the United States has human trafficking or sex trafficking. It's a $1 billion industry that is becoming an epidemic. Next, I want to talk about how there is hope. I found my hope in Jesus Christ. He has brought me through the storm, and He will turn tragedy into triumph. I believe that 100%. And so my hope is that other people who are struggling can seek the help that they need to use their voice and to get help. There's so many resources available. Here's a list of my references. I hope that you can check them out because they give so much information about how to help survivors. Lastly, one of the last things I want to talk about is that for me, Philippians 4:13 is something I held on to. I can do all things through Him who gives me strength. If it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about this today. I wouldn't have hope. I used to consider myself a victim. Now I consider myself a survivor. I have a purpose, and that purpose is to shed light onto this terrible, terrible topic. So in conclusion, human trafficking is happening all over the world. Through my personal testimony and the data I have collected for you, I hope that more light has been brought to this matter. I hope that everyone has learned that human trafficking is not something that discriminates. It happens everywhere and every day. You may know a few people. You may be surrounded by victims who are still silenced in their trafficking. They can't escape their traffickers. So I encourage everyone to really go through the resources that I have provided to really learn more about it and how we can, as a community, come together and help survivors with this. So again, thank you so much for listening to my story. God bless you. I hope that God speaks to you and ignites a fire in you to learn more about this and how you can get involved to help the survivors and victims who are currently stuck in trafficking. God bless you and thank you.